Both JJ McCarthy and Caitlin Clark turned heads over the weekend. By the way, I think JJ McCarthy is going as high as number 3 in the NFL draft. What do you think about that? Lockdown Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. Thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today, this episode is brought to you by Nissan. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Check them all out today at nissanusa.com. All right, we are going to talk about both JJ McCarthy at the Combine and Caitlin Clark setting more records again. Plus, there are some conferences that hate the fact that the Big Ten and the SEC think they're getting a bye week and a 14-team playoff. Plus, we'll have our top 10 observations over the weekend. Be sure to subscribe and follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcast. That way you get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. Well, what do you think when you talk about Michigan quarterback JJ McCarthy and, you're an NFL team and you need a quarterback? How high is he going to go in the draft? Some people don't even have him in the first round. I'm trying to figure out what his ceiling is. I think it's ceiling 3. I think it'll be the 3rd pick in the draft. The Patriots, maybe. I'll talk about this a little bit more. I'll explain it all. Quick recap. Former Michigan coach Jim Harbaugh once said that McCarthy was a once-in-a-generation quarterback. He says the best to ever play at Michigan. That includes Harbaugh himself. That includes Tom Brady. You know the list. Harbaugh recently said as recently as last month, he stuck to his guns. He says, don't be surprised if McCarthy's the first quarterback taken in the draft. Now, I don't know about that. I mean, we're talking about Heisman Trophy winners, Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. Throw in Drake May, Michael Penix Jr., Bo Nix. But JJ McCarthy, very interesting. Harbaugh feels that after a successful combine and successful pro day workouts in Ann Arbor, and given McCarthy's personality and the interviews and the leadership skills, and the fact that he's a winner, he just went undefeated and won a national championship, Harbaugh thinks that teams will fall in love with JJ McCarthy, just like Harbaugh did. Sadly, we won't get to see Harbaugh put his money where his mouth is. Even though the Chargers have the 5th pick in the draft, they're okay at quarterback with Justin Herbert. I don't think they're going to be drafted a quarterback anytime soon. But maybe Harbaugh is right about something. Maybe McCarthy will go higher than everybody expected. For the record, we love JJ McCarthy here on Locked On Big Ten. As you know, we talked about him quite a bit on this podcast and enjoyed it very much. But we also recall that as early as week 2 or week 3 in the season, we said here on this podcast, you can go back and look, don't be surprised if McCarthy quickly falls out of the Heisman race. He was very much in the conversation at that time back in September. We pointed out correctly that Michigan runs the ball. I mean, a lot more so than anybody else. And then Michigan has big leads. So they're going to protect the ball and run the clock by running the ball. McCarthy didn't put up great stats. He wasn't even playing in the 4th quarter of a lot of those games early on because they were a wrap. They were all blowouts. Heisman voters, they like winners, but they like stats even more. We said McCarthy would be out of the Heisman race early. We took a lot of heat from that from some Michigan fans out there on the comments here on YouTube. That's okay. We're big boys. We can handle it here. But we were right. And again, we love JJ McCarthy. I'm fascinated by him. So next, the question was whether McCarthy would be high on anybody's draft list. And again, scouts and GMs, they don't seem to agree much on where he is if you listen to the rumor mill, and they didn't get to see him throw much. A typical Michigan win, if you go back and look at the film, McCarthy maybe would complete a little more than a dozen passes for 150 yards, maybe a touchdown or 2, no interceptions for the most part. those stats were good enough to win games at Michigan, every game. But people who are not Michigan fans, who didn't watch a lot of the games and they want to hate on him, they say that he won't be impressive in the NFL. I don't agree with that. Those same people may have missed a few occasions when he did have to throw, and he was spot on his targets, throwing on a dime with multiple defenders around. He really can do it, and he did it once in a while. If you're a diehard Michigan fan and you saw every game, you saw it happen. Again, once in a while. So what about the NFL Combine this weekend at Indianapolis for critics who say he's too small, for example? He was listed at like 202 at Michigan. Did you know he weighed in at 219? In just about 6 weeks, he put on 19 pounds. We'll see if that sticks. We'll see if it's real. But that's a big jump. And that turned a few heads as well. But 17 pounds in 2 months. That's we'll see if that sticks, if he continues to add on to that with real weight, real muscle weight. Look, one thing he can do that other quarterbacks can't do, he can start under center as opposed to shotgun. Some quarterbacks exclusively do shotgun. He can do both, does both very regularly, very comfortable with that. Both in the season and during the combine, he showed his agility and his movement inside the pocket, which frankly in the NFL, that something you need to do to buy yourself an extra half second here and there and keep plays alive, and also not get hurt. And he's got that natural play clock in his head, winding down. He doesn't really hang on to the ball too long. For those of you that may wonder about arm strength, he threw a ball at the combine that was clocked at 81 miles an hour. That's some heat. That was the second hardest ball thrown all week out there. So the question becomes, how far up the board will McCarthy go? Again, some GMs and scout going into the combine didn't even have him as a first-round talent. Others did, and even had him ahead of a high-volume, deadly accurate passer like Michael Penix Jr. Michael Penix is going to have to get over the fact that he's had like 4 major injuries early in his college career, didn't miss a practice or a game his last 2 years. They're going to have to weigh all that. And we'll see if Penix falls. He's been all over the place too. It's been hard to pin down these quarterbacks in the draft. This is the smoke screen season where teams lie and don't tell the truth and try and get you to think one thing when they're planning another. It's all out there. We've seen this. You and I, we're all veterans. We see this happen every year, March and April. But the first 3 teams in the draft, they all need quarterbacks. It's Chicago, Washington, and the Patriots. The Patriots at number 3 is where I think things could get interesting. I don't believe when Harbaugh says that McCarthy will be the first quarterback taken off the board, but he may be going pretty early at number 3, maybe. During his interviews with the teams, McCarthy stressed his winning, being a good teammate. Again, bottom line, he would fall on the fact, hey, I win. I'm a quarterback and I win. And teams love that. And according to McCarthy himself, his interview with the Patriots went pretty well. They know a thing or two about winning quarterbacks that some people may have overlooked from Michigan. I'll just leave it at that. There are other teams out there that are intriguing as well. Like, do the Giants get him and bring him along behind Daniel Jones for a year? Does Atlanta take him at number 8? Or do they trade for former Ohio State quarterback Buckeyes Justin Fields from back in the day? Maybe the Jets bring him in at number 10 and let him sit behind Aaron Rodgers for a year or two and then develop just the same way Jordan Love did behind Aaron Rodgers. It was actually, that might not be a bad idea. Of course, the only bad thing is he'd be a Jet, and that organization just seems to have trouble. But, and they got to have a better backup than Zach. Well, JJ McCarthy could be a better backup for Aaron Rodgers than Zach Wilson. There's no question about that. And again, Rodgers isn't going to be there forever. So maybe that is a spot. Teams like Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Denver, they're all possibilities. And that's why I think at least 5 or maybe 6 quarterbacks are going to be going in the first round of this NFL draft. And I think JJ McCarthy is definitely going to be one of those in the upper half of that bunch. What do you think? Love to hear from you. Hit me up on Twitter at X at TalkBig10, comments on YouTube. And of course, you see our scroll on the bottom, our website, TalkBig10, 10.com. That is a great way to check us out as well. So interesting conversation, interesting weekend. JJ McCarthy, I've been fascinated with him as a prospect this entire season. Just an interesting person, fun player to watch. But we'll get your reaction as well. Speaking of turning heads this weekend, Caitlin Clark passed another scoring record. Some ACC and Big 12 teams are not happy with what we talked about last week about a 14-team playoff and how the Big 10 and the SEC are going to get the automatic buys. Nobody else. They don't like that idea. This thing may stalemate right away. And we'll tell you all about that, plus our Big 10 top 10 observations from the weekend. It's all coming up right here on the Locked On Big 10. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things just a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Our friends at Nissan have a lineup of SUVs with the capabilities to take your adventure to the next level. The 2024 Nissan Rogue, for example, perfect for city drives and great escapes. Class exclusive, Google built-in. It's a great way for updating the assistants to call on for almost anything that you need for directions or maybe a store you're passing by. All that's right there at your fingertips. Gone are the days of connecting your phone. It's all right there. Google Assistant, Google Maps, Google Play Store, built right in there in a nice 12.3-inch high-def touchscreen infotainment system. Plus, you can also check out the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder. Has room up to 8, an expansive cargo capacity, and advanced available 4x4 capability. 284 horsepower, by the way, up to 6,000 pounds of towing when adventure calls your name. The Pathfinder is there to answer. Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. You can shop Nissan at shopnissanusa.com. That's shopnissanusa.com. Hey, I want to thank everybody for making Locked On Big 10 your first listen each and every day, especially you everydayers out there. Meanwhile, be sure to subscribe if you don't mind, please. That helps us. It's free on YouTube. You can share and follow, like Locked On Big 10, your team every day. And don't forget our website, talkbig1010.com. All right, let's get into this a little bit. Last week, we reported that the inner workings of college football and the playoff expansion for 12 to 14 teams is moving forward. And it's being driven by the Big 10 and the SEC. Now, we have the new 12-team playoffs starting this year and next year. But after that, we're wide open. We don't have a plan. And so that's when everybody wants the 14-team, the expansion. Again, 14 teams. One of the big selling points from the Big 10 and the SEC is, from their perspective anyway, their champions, Big 10 champion and SEC champion, get buys in the 14-team playoff. Then the rest of the 12 teams, they got to start playing on opening weekend. Sounds great, right? SEC, Big 10, they make all the money, make all the decisions. Everybody else is following along. Not so fast. The coaches from the ACC and the Big 12 said, wait a minute. We're not agreeing to that. We don't like this. Why are we giving the Big 10 and an SEC an automatic bye no matter what, no matter what's going on, no matter how big and mighty they may or may not be that particular year? It doesn't sound fair. TCU's Sonny Dykes said it would be like the Dallas Cowboys getting a first-round bye in the playoffs in the NFL every year just because they have the most fans. He says that would be ridiculous. Oklahoma State's Mike Gundy said a playoff which guarantees a first-round bye before the season even starts is unheard of. Now, coaches don't have any power with this new process. That belongs to the presidents and the chancellors and the conferences. But the coaches are letting their opinions be known to their presidents and chancellors. At the Big 10 and the SEC are saying, well, wait a minute. We earn about 25 to 30% of all the revenue in college football. So we want to have more say. The ACC and the Big 12 follow at about 15 to 20%. The other leagues are around 10%. And then there's Notre Dame, 1%, which, by the way, still blows my mind. This was topic last week. Why are we allowing all these asterisks and special rules for Notre Dame? Stop it. Just because they have 1% of the revenue, because they're independent, because they're Notre Dame. Stop it. Stop just bending over for Notre Dame and force them to get in one of the conferences. All right. It's got to be a daily mantra for me, I guess. If you're like me and you think all this expansion is too much, too fast, maybe the silver lining here is that the sides will fight so much over these rules and money that it'll actually stalemate for a long time and we'll stay where we're at. Look, I'm old school. I still wanted to keep it 4. 4 was good. If you want to expand to 12, it's inevitable. It's going to happen. Then there's 14 and 16. If they're going to fight over this, it's just going to stalemate it. Maybe it'll delay it long enough. Hey, by the way, interesting here. In other football rules news, remember the whole sign stealing scandal at Michigan? Of course you do. We spent a lot of time talking about that here on Locked On Big Ten. The NCAA Football Rule Committee proposed on Friday new rules that would let teams use the coach-to-player communications to a designated player on the field. The rule will be very similar to what's going on in the NFL. You got the green dot on the back of the quarterback's helmet or a green dot on the back of a defensive player's helmet, and you can communicate with them until the play clock hits 15, and then it just shuts off. The rule proposal would be limited to FBS teams and could go into effect this season in the NCAA. Playing rules oversight. There's a playing rules oversight panel that would approve this in April. I think April 18th is the number that sticks in my mind. There could be a rule by then in effect. And I think teams are practicing with this and playing with it in spring football just in case. Now, Georgia coach Kirby Smart, he's on the rules committee. He's a coach here. Now, he says, let's not move so fast with all this. Let's not do a knee-jerk reaction here just because of what happened. He's not so fast to jump on and add this new technology. So this is not a done deal by any means at this point. All right, rules aside, all that aside. On Sunday, in women's basketball, number 6 Iowa avenged an earlier season loss to number 2 Ohio State. 93-83, senior day at Iowa. Caitlin Clark, along the way, she scored 35 points, 9 assists, 6 rebounds. She also passed Pistol Pete Maravich as the all-time NCAA scorer, men's or women's. Some of you have written me, said, look, men's and women's is completely different. Why even mention it in the same breath? I am, because it's happening. She passed his point total. We'll just say it. You can have your own opinion as to whether this is important or not because she's in women's basketball versus men's basketball. Whatever you want to do, I'm fine with it. I see both sides of that argument. Look, she's great. We love watching her. She hit this point total. We're going to talk about it here on Locked On Big Ten and offer our congratulations. Her record-breaking points actually came on a free throw from a technical foul on Ohio State in the final seconds of the first half. With the women's Big Ten tournament starting this week, by the way, this streak of greatness is nearing its end, as Clark announced last week that she will be going pro. She is the presumed number 1 pick of the WNBA draft. That pick is owned by the Indiana Fever. I can tell you from my perspective, growing up in the state of Indiana with all the basketball love around there, I can tell you they will absolutely love having her there. She'll be a huge hit with the Indiana Fever and the fans there in Indianapolis. So congratulations to her once again, yet another mark. And now the women get ready for the Big Ten tournament. Then the NCAA tournament. We'll see if Caitlin Clark can go out with a bang and some sort of national championship, which is the last thing missing on her resume. Hey, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's called Locked On Sports Today. Check it out. It's got all the latest sports stories of the day. Plus our shows are on there as well. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe there. After you subscribe here, Locked On Big Ten. All right, coming off the weekend, you know what we like to do if you're an everydayer to Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. We like to run down a list of 10, our top 10 observations from the weekend rather. All that coming up in just 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. Hey, get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams. They have quick bets, They have live same-game parlays, exclusive props. Just anything you think of is right there. I'll give you a few tips here for Monday night tonight in the NBA. Bulls at Kings. I like the Kings at -6.5. Thunder and Lakers, take the over 239.5. And the Clippers at the Bucks, take the over at 229.5. I expect a lot of points in that game as well. So again, the Kings over the Bulls, -6.5. Over on Thunder Lakers, 239.5, and over on the Clippers and Bucks at 229.5. Once again, just visit FanDuel.com/locked-on and shoot your shot. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. All right, it's time to take a look at what's going on with the weekend that we just came off of with our Big Ten top 10 observations. I'll share them with you. We'll see if you want to compare notes a little bit. We'll start at number 10, work our way up. I'm going to put this on the screen. If you're on audio only, we'll describe what's going on here. At number 10, the late Sunday game there was Nebraska. They got their win against Rutgers. Again, Nebraska is dynamite at home. Now, I will say in this game, the shooting, both sides, was not good from three-point land. And Nebraska likes to hit a lot of threes at home. Rutgers is a good defensive team, but Rutgers couldn't shoot either. Nebraska wins 67-56. I just like the home crowd. This is a shout out to Nebraska Husker fan at basketball games. You guys are great. That is a great atmosphere in college basketball. At number 9, a shout out to Michigan State hockey. On Friday, they beat Wisconsin 5-2 to take the Big Ten regular season championship. So congratulations to them. We got some more of that tomorrow on Tuesday. Tweet some pictures from that and a couple of cool traditions that Michigan State hockey has. At number 8, a shout out to Illinois and their women's basketball team. Makira Cook, 20 points in Illinois' 74-73 thriller versus Nebraska over the weekend. At number 7, a shout out to the Indiana men's basketball team with Mackenzie Mbako, scored 24 points on the road at Maryland. The Hoosiers had to come back and win that one. The Hoosiers have won 2 in a row after losing 4 in a row. So good job by Mike Woodson and company. And Khalil Ware and Mackenzie Mbako are playing pretty well right now. It's a little late. Maybe we got the tournament coming up. We'll see. At number 6, Iowa. They beat Northwestern 87-80. So this is the men's team. Josh Jicks, career high 24 points. Peyton Sandfort, 23 points. Iowa has now won 4 out of 5. You know, Iowa had a nice streak where they had a streak where they couldn't put 2 wins in. They would win one, they'd lose one. They win one, they'd lose one. Well, now they won 4 of their last 5. I think that puts them at 18 wins now, off the top of my head. Going into the tournament, they could be an interesting team. They are fun to watch. I will say that. At number 5, the Indiana women's basketball team got a win at home against Maryland. The Lady Hoosiers finished 15-0 at home. Congratulations to them. And number 4, Ohio State beat Michigan. And now Ohio State, man, they've won 3 in a row. They've won 4 out of 5. This is all since the coaching change when they fired Chris Holtman. Got the win over Purdue in there. The buzzer beater against Michigan State. Ohio State basketball is starting to turn things around late in the season. That's pretty good. That's a shout out to everybody after the coaching change, stepping it up. At number 3, Michigan's JJ McCarthy threw that 82 mile an hour throw at the Combine, showing everybody what he can do. Everybody falling in love with his personality. And JJ McCarthy getting a shout out at number 3 from the NFL Combine. At number 2, congratulations to the Purdue Boilermakers for their win over the weekend over Michigan State, 80-74. It's a tough game, great atmosphere. Michigan State couldn't hear a thing at Mackey. Zach Edey, 32 points and 11 rebounds. Braden Smith, 23 points and 9 boards in that game. Purdue leads the country in 10 quad 1 wins, the high quality wins you need for a resume in the NCAA tournament. And they pick up their share of the Big Ten title, still have a game with Illinois coming up. Whether they get it or not, they're going to be a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament with that 10 quad one win category. So congratulations to them. And at number one, why not, right? Iowa's Caitlin Clark, another scoring record as she passed Pistol Pete Maravich for the all-time NCAA scoring mark, men's or women's senior day. Congratulations, Caitlin Clark and the Iowa Hawkeyes. So that's our list, our Big Ten top 10 observations from the weekend here on Lockdown Big Ten. Hope you enjoyed that. And I want to remind you that if you want to follow us or communicate with us in any way, we have a couple of ways. Hit us up on Twitter, X at TalkBig10 our website, TalkBig10 10.com, or you can hit us up right here where you're watching. If you're watching on YouTube, hit us in the comments. Always love it. Also, ask you all, if you could, tell your friends about us. If you have any friends that are Big Ten alum, just fans, family members, whatever, tell them about us. Spread the word. We're picking up a lot of followers and subscribers each and every day. Thanks to you guys. Word of mouth is part of that. So let them know about Lockdown Big Ten, your team every day, or as I like to say, your teams every day. We cover them all right here on Locked On Big Ten. All right. So, and you can subscribe here and follow this podcast on your favorite podcast app, and you get the latest episode of Lockdown Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. And as I mentioned in the middle of the podcast, the Lockdown family has also launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It is called Lockdown Sports Today. It is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with all the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every single league. You'll see our show on there, Lockdown Big Ten. They just kind of roll over every half hour, new shows, news inserts, everything. It's fantastic. And so after you're done here, I, of course, invite you to watch another episode of Lockdown Big Ten, but also subscribe here. But then you can go check out Lockdown Sports Today as well and see what's going on over there, and feel free to subscribe. All right. It is an amazing time here of the year, and we got a lot of things going on. We got the Big Ten women's basketball tournament is going to get started, and the regular season for men's basketball is winding down this week, and then they start their tournament next week, and then before you know it, it'll be Selection Sunday for both men's and women's basketball, and we'll be into it, March Madness for the NCAA tournament. We'll see what happens. We'll see if Purdue can avoid the pitfalls that they have had in the NCAA tournament after another great regular season, Matt Painter and company. We'll see if Caitlin Clark and Iowa can get that championship at the end of a long road. That's all coming up. It's right around the corner. We're going to cover it all right here on Lockdown Big Ten. I appreciate you joining us each and every day. For Lockdown Big Ten, I'm Craig Sheeman. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.